our Meet a Custom Builder series. Come on up here. Mr. Alex Rossborough is going to be talking to one of my good buddies. The super talented Jeremy Cupp is in the house from LC Fabrications. Jeremy has a bike that's competing this weekend in the J&P Cycles Custom Ultimate Builder Show, and also has a bike featured right here in the Progressive Parlor. His bike is the subject matter for Makoto Endo, our fine art painter back there, has been doing a really great portrait of this beautiful bike called 7 back there that was built by LC Fabrications, built by the uber talented Jeremy Cupp. I know, you're like a shy guy. I know you're like, this has got to be killing you.
I got the message to do this, and I said, oh, no.
What was that?
I got the message to do this morning, and I said, oh, no.
I know you're a super humble, super shy dude, but we appreciate you coming and talking to us. So I'm going to let Alex take it away. But good luck with the competition. Your bike is fantastic. If you've not had the chance to do so, make sure you head on out there, check out all the great custom bikes that are featured here that are competing this weekend. And then the winner of this show goes on to compete and compete for the grand prize in Chicago. So hopefully we will see you there. Best of luck, my friend. And thank you for loaning us 7 this weekend. We're here at the booth of the Progressive Parlor, so make sure you stop by and check out that as well. But anyway, take it away, Alex.
All right. Good afternoon, Jeremy. Hey, nice to see you out here today. Got a chance to take a look at your bike, and we took some photos. One of the things that Jeff, who oversees this deal, was telling me about is that you make, let's go ahead and have a seat. You make that custom air cleaner, and it's kind of patterned off an old school air cleaner, but I noticed it's kind of shrunk down a little bit. Are you going to be manufacturing those for sale?
Yes, sir. Actually, I've got them, have manufactured a batch and have them for sale on my site now. Yeah, that's that's kind of the latest in my parts line. I call it the mini ham can, if everybody remembers the old ham can on the FXEs back in the day. Kind of an iconic Harley Davidson shape, and honestly bigger than the engine. So I thought they'd fit nice, kind of with this the FXR craze going on right now and whatnot. Yeah, did some of them. They've people kind of flipped out about them so far, so hopefully they'll do well.
Right on. Now, does that fit the older carbureted bikes too, or just the fuel-injected throttle bodies?
Actually, right now I'm manufacturing them for the S&S carburetors and the CV carburetors, the factory Harley CV carburetors. I do have a fuel-injected bike in my shop right now, so I'm planning to make a back plate so that they'll work with the newer fuel-injected stuff as well.
Okay, and if it works with the stock carb, it'll also, the CV, it'll work with the Mikuni then too, because they're pretty much the same with the one adapter plate on there.
You can, there are quite a few adapter plates on the market. You can put pretty much anything on anything if you want to look down the road. But no, Mikuni has a separate bolt pattern from S&S or CV, so you would need an adapter.
Yeah, that comes with the Mikuni kit, but I'm with you. So I was checking out the pipe, and is that something that you got off the shelf, or did you have to modify that at all to get it to fit on the bike?
No, actually, I don't use anything off the shelf if at all possible. Those that's a one-off set that I made. I talked to Cone Engineering in California. Them and Burn Stainless, as far as I know, are the only 2 companies making stainless steel mandrel bends in the United States. So that's pretty important to me and should be to you too. So write that down. Ordered up a box of bends from them, one of their kind of signature cones.
They are Cone Engineering, yeah. I've worked for a couple exhaust companies, and we bought our cones from Cone Engineering too. So, yeah, and it's nice to know that they sell the mandrel bends now too, because those are kind of hard to get.
That's right. I've had issues over the years, with one finding stainless made in the U.S. Actually, Paul from Bare Knuckle finally hooked me up on that, and when I was ordering stuff, from other catalogs and whatnot, a lot of it you'd get it and it wasn't really worth using for a motorcycle application. Nice under your car, but not on a bike. So, yeah, made the 2-in-1 out of their parts.
Cool. How's it sound? Has it got a baffle in it at all, or is it just pretty much straight through with the reverse cone on it?
Yeah, there's no baffle to it whatsoever, so it'll ring your ears pretty well. It's I've got the S&S. Honestly, I guess we could start. The bike started as I did it for the Pro Chop Off in the Smokeout this past year, the Horse Magazine Backstreet Choppers. So a lot of companies kind of stepped up and said, "Hey, let me send you something." So S&S hooked me up with a 1250 kit. You know, they're super stock heads and cylinders, the whole cam setup, all of that. So it's a good running motor and flows real good. So yeah, it'll ring your ears.
Right on. Did you? And you have an S&S carb on there, I presume too.
I do.
Yeah. Did that take a lot of dialing in?
Honestly, no. The S&S, you know, it's I call it a bean can carburetor. You know, they're very simple. I mean, there's 3 circuits and you're done. You know, you get into the Makunis. You know, they're a lot more tunable for carburetor wizards, but for guys like me who can get them run and make them run a little better, you know, I like to stick with kind of your basic 3 circuits. So.
Well, that's cool, and it didn't take a lot of time to get it dialed in. I also noticed on your build sheet there that you pretty much made that frame from scratch.
I did. Like I say, I try not to buy anything. I like, you know, that's kind of what I do is build things. So yeah, that's it's my design. It's kind of a looped style frame. Originally was the bike was built for a friend of mine actually standing right here. We did some horse trading. I got the bike back from him later, but he wanted a swing arm, so we started out with a swing arm. I said, okay, that's your only input. I'll let you know when it's finished. But yeah, loop frame. I wanted to do something a little different with the swing arm, so I did kind of a lay down on the rear shocks, kind of patterned after the early Vincent design, actually.
Yeah, I saw that. That looks really clean. How's it ride? Ride pretty good?
It does ride very well. It's a great handling bike. You know, I couldn't complain anything, you know, at all about it. It's about your average Harley Davidson weight if you want to compare it to, you know, a Japanese sport bike or something. But you know, within that bounds, it's a heck of a riding bike. So.
Well, it is a custom V-twin, so, you know, you would expect it to be like a custom V-twin,
right.
Not necessarily a sport bike. One of the other features that I really liked on this bike, I like the wheels where you had the solid in the front and the 5-spoke in the back. Now, where did you source those at?
Actually, the front wheel is from Harley Davidson's rocker model that was out for a little while.
Okay.
The rear one is a 19-inch V-rod front wheel. I machined the centers out so that I could, you know, do a drive sprocket and whatnot on the rear. I don't know, kind of felt like the way I did the powder coat in it kind of felt like a classic steel wheel with a trim ring, you know, like 40s hot rod kind of feeling thing. So they've been floating around the shop for a few years, so I put them to good use.
So, I've been talking to a lot of custom bike builders over the last few shows, and one of the things I've noticed is that you guys seem to have a pretty deep stash of parts. Are you one of those guys? Do you have the back room totally chock full of extra wheels and pieces parts?
I have the back room, the upstairs, the shed at home. Yeah, quite a few things. I'm quite a parts hoarder for nonetheless. Yeah. Unfortunately, you get a lot of guys who know you like parts, so they want to trade you parts for labor instead of money. So that doesn't work out very well.
Still can't pay the rent with the parts until you put them on something like this and put them to good use. That tail section behind the seat caught my eye. Did you custom fab that oil tank? Is that all hand bent and welded?
I did, yes, sir. Honestly, the only piece of the bike that I didn't make were the modified Fat Bob tanks. Everything else was all completely made from scratch. So, yeah, the tail section was my design. I think overall where I tried to go with the bike was to fit into the, I guess, modern millennial cafe era a little bit, and yet have a whole lot of classic Harley Davidson cues, you know, kind of blended together with it. So hopefully I pulled it off pretty well.
Well, I think so, and boy, that oil tank, that is just super clean. You know, I was really impressed with your fab work on that and how nice that came out. And then the lay-down shocks kind of like reminded me a lot of the Vincent. I'm glad you mentioned that. Do you have a frame jig that you use, or did you just kind of mock that up and then weld it as you were going along?
No, actually, I have a frame jig I built out of 2 old milling machine tables, actually, and then I machined all the uprights. And, you know, I'm a machinist by trade full-time.
Okay.
So, you know, everything's, pretty nice frame jig.
Yeah, that's cool, using those nice flat surfaces like that. And then you've got the slots in there so you can move everything around where you want it to position it. That's cool. There's a nice side shot of this bike. It's up over towards the front, over by the escalator. Folks, go check it out. It's a super nice motorcycle. You did a great job on it. You can be very proud of that. And it looks like it's fun to ride. It looks like you could hop on that thing and head out and go have a good time.
It absolutely is. I've gone a little deep into art projects in the past, here and there. For the smokeout thing, we had to ride 180 miles, I think, to the show, basically to prove it was a functional motorcycle.
Okay.
So I did this one a little more functional, and yeah, I have a ball with it. So when it's not here, it's out getting dirty. So.
Oh, right on. Well, Jeremy, thanks for coming out today. It was really nice to hear about your motorcycle. You put a lot of nice work into that, and it came out really clean and solid. And like I said, it looks like it's a ball to ride. And thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate you coming up to be interviewed.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and thanks everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you, Jeremy. Hank, you ready? Come on down. Oh, and by the way, Jeremy, I'm a huge fan of Owry grips. I'm glad. It was nice to see those on there. I like those grips. I put those on every motorcycle that I own. Hi, Hank.
How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
I got Hank Tibido here. Hank, where are y'all located at?
Rougemont, North Carolina.
Okay. Is it pretty mountainy there? Hilly?
Not too bad. I mean, it's out in the woods. It's
Out in the woods.
country.
Okay. Well, go ahead and have a seat. And I got a chance to talk to Hank a little earlier today, and I got a couple of notes on his bike. And if you guys have not seen this bike, this thing is one wild creation. There is so much stuff going on with this thing that I almost had to dissect it from one end to the other just to take it all in because there was so much going on. So I got a picture of the rear end here, and let's talk a little bit about the frame, the rear end, how you ended up with this deal. And I guess where I want to start there is, did you sit down and kind of do yourself a concept drawing before you started this out? Or I think as we were talking, you said it just kind of came together as you were going along.
Yeah, I had a goal in mind of surpassing my last bike, which I had a 17-inch seat height on that bike, and I had figured, hey, I can go lower. So this one we achieved a 13-inch seat height on this bike. And the only goal there was to make it a sled, make it fast, and give it that WTF factor.
Well, it definitely has a WTF factor. When did that seat come to you? When did that come to you? As you were putting the frame together, or after you got the frame, you kind of made the seat to fit?
Well, once we got the frame and the bike up and rolling and really had an idea as to how the bike looked and had a feel for the bike, at that point then I was like, okay, we're leaning in the direction of a hard industrial type look, so no need for padding.
Right on. And before I move off of this picture, you guys can see that tank with the lady painted on that. Hank, tell them what's inside that tank.
That's the gas tank at the back of the bike. The gas cap is actually a pop-up gas cap off of a 1.5 gallon jerry can, military gas can. I made the gas tank itself, got it fitted in there, and I was like, all right, now I need a gas cap. And I've been kicking this gas can around the shop for about 1.5 years, and I was like, hey, I know what I got. I got a Sawzall out, cut the top of it off, and fit perfect.
So there again, there's that stash of parts. So, like a lot of the other builders, like Jeremy, I imagine you have your good. Are you up to barn status yet, or warehouse?
Yeah, no, barn. I got the back shelves in the shop, a pool table that no longer gets used that we actually built a tabletop for to stash parts on, back shelves in the back of the shop, a trailer, and then a two-story barn with melee of parts back there.
Nice. So, I got a chance to talk to Hank about this intake, and kind of a sport bike inspired with the front-facing air cleaners, and then feeding the tubes down into the carburetor intakes. And so we got talking about this. Was there any dialing in this process of getting this to run right with that air cleaner and pipes on there?
There was a lot of unforeseen dialing in the carburetors. Some of the issues we ran into was pressures in the carburetors and getting the carburetors to flow and be able to take the amount of air and then be able to put the amount of fuel back out. So we added the extra tubing and the high pressure areas in the hyperchargers to pressurize the float bowls to get the fuel to flow back up into the carburetors.
Yeah, and so it was a little bit of a process getting that dialed in to ride it, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, nothing short of a pain in the butt.
Nice. But, that is a very unique feature of this bike. And speaking of unique, Hank, you were telling me that, like a lot of the builders, you really kind of resist buying stuff off the shelf. And so you did end up fabricating the frame yourself, too.
Correct. Everything on the bike is completely one-off from the headlight to the axle plates in the back. We had an idea as to what we wanted. Spent more hours than probably needed to make sure the rake control was right and getting the bike to actually function and be able to be a rider opposed to just sit there and fry everybody's peanut.
Right. Well, and on that note, we were talking, and it seemed like kind of a stretch from the seat to the foot pegs and to the handlebars. But you were telling me that it's really actually pretty comfortable and not that big of a reach.
No, I actually built the bike to fit my stature, and I'm not blessed with mass amounts of height. So I was able to fit myself into the bike in a comfortable state, sitting upright, not being slumped over. But I did make it with a forward control so that whoever purchased the bike, hopefully at some point, and it is for sale.
It's for sale.
It's shameless. I could actually remake the forward controls to give them more reach out to if somebody was taller.
Nice. So one of my favorite features of this bike as I was checking it out was this Buck Rogers headlight. This thing is just bad to the bone. So if you could spend a couple of minutes telling the folks about the process of making that headlight.
Well, the original concept of the headlight came from, I was watching Transformers with my son, and in the portion of the movie, one of the robots, his headlight popped out, and it had this kind of crazy look like this, and I was like, man, that'd be cool on a bike. So I drew up some templates and started cutting out these pieces with the plasma cutter, cut them all out by hand. And then the most challenging part was actually cutting out the headlight rings themselves by hand and actually get them to where they were a circle opposed to a jagged little funky shape.
And, having used CNC equipment before and done some laser cutting on some brackets and having done that with the computer, I can really appreciate how labor intensive that could be doing that by hand. So to get these perfect circles for the headlight rim and also to make these nice blades and get the holes cut in them, I was really impressed by the fact that you didn't just plug that into the computer, set the plate down, and then let the laser cutter do its job, that you did that all by hand. Well, it came out really, really cool. So speaking of really cool things, too, tell us about this front end, because that front end was also not another thing off the shelf. This was something that Hank Thibodeau made, wasn't it?
Correct. Yeah, the front end is a kickback, like an old Indian-style leaf spring front end. This one's unique in the fact of it's actually a 6-inch under front end in a wide glide format. We went with a Rocker C front wheel, so I wanted something to carry off that girth of the front end of the bike, but still be minimal from a distance and not be overpowering with the minimalness of the bike.
Nice. I like that. I think you and Jeremy both use the same front wheel. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. But
the ironic part is the rear wheel that's on this bike actually came from a V-Rod project that I'd done for a client. It was a 240 back tire conversion wheel for his bike that he didn't want. And he said, well, man, you can have it. That's 2 years later, it found a home.
There's that part stash coming in handy. The last thing I think we took a picture of here was the exhaust pipes. Now, normally you don't see anything like this except for on drag cars where it's coming out from underneath the bodywork and you see the flames coming out there. And the first thought, and even as we were talking, standing over by the bike today, somebody asked, they said, wow, how loud is this thing? And what was your reply?
Honestly, it's not very loud. It's the hard 90s in the pipe really toned the bike down a lot. We had actually was concerned because of the length of the pipes that we were going to have a back pressure issue, and I had actually made some high-flowing baffles for the pipes, and it was actually too restrictive. I had to pull the baffles back out to actually be able to tune the bike in.
So this thing revs out pretty good. It tacks out, goes all the way right up to redline, no problem, huh?
No problems. It'll do rolling burnouts 25, 30 miles an hour.
Nice. Which begs the question, I always like to ask, Have you got a chance to get out and put some miles on this thing? Have you been out riding it around a lot?
I try to ride when I can. I'm a workaholic, so I work 6-7 days a week. You know, my rides usually consist of a 5 or 6 mile hop to here, a 5 6 mile hop there. On a good Sunday, I might get on my Softail and ride 30-40 miles, but unfortunately, I don't get to ride nearly as much as I work.
I understand that, but you know, kind of a thrill though when you get something like this together and you flip the ignition for the first time and hit the start button and it fires up and comes to life. You know, sometimes I wonder, and ladies, no offense, but I think it's about as close as giving birth as us men come.
That's exactly right. The most satisfying part with the bike was when I got done with it. You know, when you're building a frame, you're getting all the geometry right, and you know in your mind that it's right. You don't know until you ride it. And at that point, if it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't want to go straight or it doesn't want to turn. And that is a delicate balance when you're getting the rake and trail and getting those numbers right. And it can be kind of a challenge when you get something quite that long and then you get the different front end lengths. And but, you know, that impressed me too, is that overall you can tell that the bike is fairly horizontal, that there really isn't anything totally kicked up and on either end, and it ended out pretty even.
The bike rides and actually handles really, really well. Unfortunately, you know, the bike's only 1.5 inches off the ground, so you got to plan ahead when you come to making a left or right-hand turn and have your bike pointed in that direction before you ever commit yourself to the turn.
So you're not taking this thing to the Dragon and going and seeing how many apexes you can strafe with this baby?
No, not at all. You actually ride this bike kind of quite the opposite you ride any other motorcycle. Usually on a motorcycle, you approach a corner from the outside or the inside and work your way out. On this, you approach the corner from the inside and give yourself plenty of lane to work your way out.
Wow. Well, there's a good side shot of the bike. It's really long. Like I was saying, it's laid out really nice. You can tell that a lot of love and fabrication and dialing in went into this. Hank, thanks for bringing your bike out today. I certainly wish you the best of luck in the build off today. And once again, it was a pleasure interviewing you and getting a chance to experience your motorcycle. So thanks for coming out today.
Thank you very much. It's been a great experience.
All right, thank you. Good luck. And good luck to you too, Jeremy.